Jesus Christ, certain scholars, a man named Bobby Hemmett says that Jesus can be broken down, the meaning of Jesus Christ, the name, can be broken down to Jesus, which is the body, and Christ, which is the spirit. Jesus, which essentially means body and spirit. Spirit is the Kundalini, the alchemical or elixir of eternal or immortality, the Philosopher's stone that will awaken to Kundalini. So that is the spirit. So Jesus, body, Christ, spirit, body, and Kundalini mixed create the perfected human, which is the alchemical mastery. It's the great work, refining the self, distilling the dross out of the human consciousness and the human body. And from an alchemical perspective, dross, ladies and gentlemen, why is my camera freaking out? Dross is the, let's see if that's any better. Dross is the unnecessary, non-refined parts of a substance. So you could think of, for a metaphor, water distillation. You have water, Alchemy is largely a process of transmutation and a process of manifestation, and the two are different, but let's talk about transmutation. When most people hear of alchemy, for instance, oftentimes they think of like potion bottles and people in robes in weird basements and dungeons trying to find an alchemical elixir and, these potions for long life. And when most people study alchemy, they find information about how people have alchemists are pretty much mainly interested in trying to figure out how to turn lead into gold. Most of the alchemical stuff, ladies and gentlemen, is metaphoric. And turning lead into gold is a metaphor for refining your body and your mind into what it was designed to be. You see, we've fallen to a state of consciousness and physical lack of health that is so bastardized and manipulated and fucked up, excuse my language, that we can consider this state of being that the average individual is currently living in. That's the lead. And to turn lead into gold is to take what you are now and refine those parts and get rid of all the unnecessary materials so that you can become enlightened again, which is symbolic. Gold and enlightenment. This is the symbolism of the solar symbolism of enlightenment. The sun rises, the gold. You can rise up like the phoenix. But it's hard to do that when your body has been so manipulated that you have multiple layers of yourself that are shut off. But alchemy is largely a process of transmutation, and transmutation is essentially, in layman's terms, a very brief definition, is to take one thing, usually in a crude state, and turn it into something refined and purify it. And transmutation is largely an act of purification, and when you purify something, you refine the parts that are essential and you leave behind what's non-essential, which is known in the alchemical world as dross. You could call it shit, you could call it waste, but most people refer to it as dross. So an example of transmutation on a physical level would be water distillation. You fill up your water distiller with tap water, which is filled full of hexafluorosilicic acids, hydrofluorosilicic acids, pipe residues, scaling lime, inorganic compounds, radioactive components, plutonium, chlorine, chloramine compounds, algicides, cobalts, disinfectant byproducts, runoff, animal blood, the list goes on and on and on. So that, by default, that tap water is pretty disgusting. There's a lot of dross in it. And when you distill that tap water, you expose it to chaos, another alchemical term that I'm not really going to get into right now, but chaos within the world of water distillation is all the bubbling and all the heat being created within the boil kettle, and the water, the steam, condenses into a liquid. As the steam rises, in a water distiller, there's a boil kettle, there's water that goes up to a certain level, then there's a bunch of space, and then there's a little hole. And as water boils, it bubbles and steam rises and goes up that little hole, which is a metal coil, and goes into a circular motion and condenses into a liquid, and then boop, bloop, falls into a collection jar. And because the liquid in the or because of the dross, the waste, the chlorine, the chloramines, all that garbage in the tap water is too heavy to rise with the steam, it's left in the boil kettle. And that's why when people distill a gallon of water and they look into the boil kettle after that, they go, holy shit, what the hell have I been consuming? I have been consuming this. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't filter your water or distill your water, you become the water filter. You become the water distiller. And you will tax your kidneys, you'll tax your liver, you'll tax your gastrointestinal system, you'll destroy and wipe out the health of your gut microbiome. With the chlorine, especially, and the chloramine compounds, these destroy the gut flora. And your gut is being referred to by many doctors nowadays and scientists as the second brain. There's an intimate connection between your gut and your brain. It's an intimate connection between everything. Everything is connected. This body and this mind is a unified field, quantum field. We are living in a quantum vortex of sorts, ladies and gentlemen, and we're living in an energetic world, an energetic matrix. And because alchemists have known since time immemorial that everything is energy, but science and these organized structures of thought and these religions have taught you that everything is just a world of objects, and basically we are the superior apex predator out here, and pretty much we're the only one with total sentience, and so because of that we can do whatever the fuck we want with everything. We're taught that we live in a world of objects, but an alchemist understands, and John Creder talks about this heavily in his book, Overcoming the Archon Through Alchemy, that we live in an ocean of energy. Not a literal ocean, but an ocean, a vast field, metaphorically speaking, of energy. This bottle of oregano oil may look solid, but it's actually a conglomeration of different energetic pieces moving at various frequencies. All matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration, just like that Tool song, the beginning of the song Third Eye by Tool, where he goes on to say, today a young man on acid realized that all matter is merely energy condensed into a slow vibration. It's true. What appears to be solid is actually moving. It's not solid. If we could actually see the auras around everything and all of the non-physical parts of all these physical objects, we'd realize that we're living in an ocean of energy. It's all energy, ladies and gentlemen. And because we're unaware of the fact that everything is energy, that's how we've become a fuel source for this Archon, because the human being is pure energy. This body is electric, ladies and gentlemen. It conducts electricity. It produces consciousness. It produces energy. Especially when you're in a state of enlightenment, you'll be able to see all the energy that you're putting off. You'll be able to see just how intricate the aura actually is. It is not some fog or some weird little bubble around you like all these metaphysical books have portrayed it. I've looked at the depictions of the auras in these metaphysical books, and they've depicted it as like this little sphere that just encompasses your physical body. The aura is a part of a totality, a system of multiple different energy fields, and the aura talks to you like a computer when it's awakened. When you become enlightened and you experience true enlightenment, true Gnosis, it's like getting into a spacesuit of sorts, an extra-dimensional divine spacesuit. It talks to you. My aura talked to me. It started rotating around me. I could see all the microcrystalline, geometric, jewel-like patterns that encompassed this giant aura that was intimately connected to all the movements I made with my body and all of the glands in my system and my chakras. Every little movement that I made with my body, I could see all of the different points of energy, all the meridians on my fingers connecting to this aura. So as I moved, the aura would spin and move with me. And it was like, it was telepathic with my mind. And I remember when I finally experienced Kundalini Christ consciousness, and I finally stood up and took my first breath of real air. When I finally opened my eyes for the first fucking time in my life, and I could see the truth of what I was designed to be, the aura was there to comfort me. And it said in this female digital-like voice, "Welcome to your aura. magnificent, isn't it? As all this stuff was making these like beeping noises and these movements and like this robotic sounds, it was incredible. And I'm not sure, ladies and gentlemen, if the aura is just aware of how my heart is inclined, or how would I say it? And now this is a sword. This is a air dagger that one uses in the magical system of using the elements or elemental magic. I don't just carry swords around, ladies and gentlemen. I just sometimes hold these tools. The sword in magic represents the distillation of thought. It represents the ability to take a thought and turn it into a physical reality through the element of fire. But, excuse me. Sometimes I'll hold those tools, my wands or my earth pentacle. I am a practicer of magic, but I think I'm not 100% sure if the aura, if someone else were to experience Christ consciousness, if they experience the same thing. I think that this intelligence is so smart that it produces enlightenment based on your heart's desires. So I found I find futuristic things very interesting. So I think it may have communicated with me like that in that digital voice because it knew I would like that. I'm not 100% sure. I'm still trying to figure all this shit out. These states of consciousness were so divine and so non-ordinary and so bizarre and so hyper advanced that I'm still recovering from them. And I've had a handful of these experiences in my early 20s, and it did drive me crazy for a while. The glory of these states of consciousness, the glory of seeing these angels that visit you when you experience these states of consciousness, when you experience grace, which is what Kundalini is. It's an act of grace. People go, I want to experience this. I'm ready. I think a lot of people just want an experience. I don't think most people are ready for this because it will most likely drive you absolutely batshit. Because when you experience these states of consciousness, when you experience Gnosis, it burns down everything else that you've known. It takes away, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, it destroys all the belief systems that you've erected up until that point. It melts your ego. And that may sound great to some people, but when you melt your ego, you melt your foundation. You melt the little, these belief systems that you've molded since you were young that allow you to walk or navigate through the land of the dead without going absolutely insane.